Thank you so much for being here. It's nice to be back with some of you. It's nice to see new faces. And it's nice, quite frankly, to not have the flu and be doing this. So I'm really happy to be here and present, very present. So thanks for being here. I would love to hear from you why you're here. That's the short answer of a short question. Why are you here? What are you thinking about that came to you from last week to this week? And while you are putting all of that together, please let me introduce some past retreat takers who are going to talk about this work from a user perspective, which is very different than the creator perspective. So we have, I'm just going to do first names. Sue, and just give a quick wave, if you would, please. Sue, Michelle, Quinn, David, and Tanya. The way that I thought we would do this is we would, I would introduce each or call on each of these people. They'll do a quick introduction and they're going to answer this first question, which is, what was it about this work that made you say yes in the first place? And remember that you're muted, so unmute yourself as you go through this, but just who you are and why you said yes in the first place. That might be useful for everybody on the call. So Sue, would you go first, please?
I knew it. I knew you were going to call on me. Yes, I would love to go first. So, gosh, it was a timing thing. It was meant to be. I happened to have a work meeting with Dana, which ended up not being a work meeting, and we talked about life and about really paths that we take in life. And I had a lot of upheaval in my life going on. I was in the middle of a divorce and a move to Colorado, and really still have an 11-year-old at home. I'm an author. I've done some speaking in the past. I have about 8 books in my brain and 2 in the works right now. And so Dana started talking about, let me, share what I'm doing. It's this, it's the spark in my life. And I'm like, I feel that, I know that. And I just knew it was time. And the other thing, there's a cost to this work. And that was a trigger for me. And I'll say, without going into details, that was part of my divorce. And so by taking this retreat and by putting some finances behind my life and my purpose and my dreams, oh my gosh, that in and of itself, the fact that I valued myself to put the finances towards this retreat, there was a lot of healing in my life from that and putting myself first. And so it was a timing. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into more questions about what happened during the retreat, but it was time and I did it. I took the step and I will never regret it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Sue. Michelle, would you go next, please?
Certainly. I am Michelle and I took the Reignite Your Spark retreat over the winter. First of all, I just really liked Dana. As you had said, we met on Daily Dose, your other project that you do with your husband, and that put me in touch with kind of reading more of your writing. And we did go to high school in the same town too, so I knew you, but I didn't know you then. I just liked you, and when I read what you wrote, I was inspired. So that's how I started rolling with it. And then I saw the retreat, and I'm at a time in my life where I'm just entering my 50s, and I have a daughter now who's gone at college, and I have another one in high school, and life opens up again. But it opened up and I didn't know what it was opening to. I didn't know what I wanted to do with it, but I knew that there was a whole bunch left. So it was the first step for me to start dreaming again, because you forget to dream when you're raising children. You you don't have a lot of time for it. So it was the impetus to start dreaming again and then put some solid steps behind it to make it happen. You know,
Fantastic.
I put braces on my teeth when I was 45 years old because I was like, I'm going to live to be 100. I'm going to have some beautiful teeth. So, you know, it's the same kind of thing. I want to live a long time and I want to enjoy all of it. I see my dad, he's in his 80s and he's still living life. I want to be excited to get up and I want it to be a bummer when I have to go to bed because life is so exciting. And that's what the retreat started rolling for me.
Okay, well, we're 2 for 2. So thank you for that. That's really spectacular. Quinn, would you go next, please?
Sure. So I'm Quinn. I'm an engineer in Los Angeles, and I took the retreat at the time that I did, kind of early last year, I believe, because
You took it in
I-
2021. Yes, so you're
Yeah,
right.
so, yeah, kinda
April of
like-
2021. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't
No,
mean to.
no worries. So I took it kind of at a time in my life where I was really at the end of the road that the adults lay out for you as you're going through. I mean, you have 12 years in school, and then you have college if you go to college, and then you got a job and you spend some time kind of getting spooled up with that, but then you get comfortable in your job and you start seeing the weeks really go by and realizing you could just do this for the next 50 years, really, and no one's going to tell you to do anything differently. And so I needed to start to really put a plan together for myself in a way that no one had ever, no one really talks about that, I guess. So I thought that the retreat was incredibly helpful for that. It gave me a really excellent framework for thinking about what it is that I wanted to do moving forward with my life, because I came into this retreat not necessarily with a really concrete idea of what this spark was for me. And I absolutely left the retreat with not only a much better idea of what that was, but also some really excellent actionable steps that is just how my brain works really well. So I was really happy with the outcomes of the retreat. I think that a lot has changed in my life because of that. I mean, I took on another job to pursue this spark of mine. I have all these side projects. I've met people that I would absolutely not have met otherwise, and my life is much richer for it. I guess that's kind of my 2 cents on it.
Well, those are 2 fabulous cents. Thank you for that. David.
Gosh, what they said.
I'll take it.
Yeah, no, I guess I'm the old timer here. I mean, because I did the retreat back in the
Well, yes, you were the
height
very
of the
first year.
pandemic. Yep.
You took the first leap, David.
Yeah. I think that what attracted me to the retreat initially, and really what spurred me to sign up, was that I was looking for what was I going to do as a next chapter in life. And I had all these sort of nebulous ideas and whatnot. And the retreat really helped me focus in on that and helped give me some concrete steps for moving my goal forward. And, of course, it's not a linear path, but I still have been able to stay focused on the ultimate goal and make some positive steps. And I really think that having the retreat helped me figure out how to stay focused on that despite all the craziness in my current life.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Tanya.
Hi. I am not quite as close to retirement as David, but a little bit. And after years of caregiving to my mom and my sister through an illness, all of that kind of came to the point where I realized I'd sort of forgotten who I was. And then, you know, I may be ready to retire from a full-time job, but I'm certainly not going to retire from a job because I can't imagine not working. So I have not taken concrete steps, and I'll just admit that. But what I have been ruminating on what I learned a year ago now, and that's not procrastinating. It's me not being quite ready to take those concrete steps, except I've already started because of last week's sessions, doing a little, reaching out to some people and really trying to figure out my next path, and my next steps. So I love actually that I felt supported to keep thinking and that I didn't feel like I needed to have an answer at the end of the workshop, and that if I hadn't identified exactly the spark, I had identified maybe some ways to get the spark started, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you all. That's it's really lovely to hear you put into words why this was important. When you create something, you can sort of hope that people will take from it what your intention was, but to hear that you did and took it in such unique, individualized ways, adapted it to fit where you were in your life at this time in this moment, is really gratifying. So thank you for that. Just full stop. So I guess my next question for you all is why should someone say yes to this work? Quinn, why should someone do this work beyond what you've sort of articulated already, if anything?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that I can only really speak from personal experience. And I think this work really helps take that nebulous desire that I think almost everybody has, and really focus it and hone it and sharpen it into something that's useful. Because I think that it can be the super self-destructive force almost, because it's just this energy that's inside of us that we want to release somehow, but there's a million reasons why we can't. And as I was talking about in my first answer, I feel like this retreat is an excellent framework for building, being able to, at the end of it, know how to be self-sufficient with doing that honing and that sharpening yourself. It gives you those first couple steps, I think, are the hardest. And this retreat does a really good job of walking you through those steps, showing you how easy it can be if you have somebody who's done it before, who's guiding you through it, and you're doing it with a group of people. I think it's the best environment for taking those first couple of steps. So that's why I would say this is a great retreat to take.
Thank you. Michelle.
Everything that Quinn just said, that was exactly how I feel. But another part of it to me, I kept expecting things to change in my life just while watching them go past, and they're not going to change. And there's a whole bunch of work to be done to make your life go in a different direction. So if you're happy with exactly where you're sitting, don't do anything.
Yes.
But if you have other dreams and you have things you would like to accomplish, then you need to change things up. And the retreat gives you a whole group of people who are in the exact same boat, who have dreams, who want to change things. They encouraged me to go for it with my dream, and I can encourage them. It's just a wonderful spot to get your ducks in a row and make your life what you want it to be.
Thank you. Tanya.
Well, it's interesting because everybody's talking about dreams, and I'm not sure there is. I mean, of course, we've all had dreams and didn't accomplish them, but this is also not necessarily like I'm going to quit my day job and be an opera singer. It's
David would say, don't.
But it's also just about kind of how do you move into something that is more meaningful or gives you more joy. So it's, I mean, not to just diminish the idea of dreams. It's just, it also can be a little daunting to think, well, what's my dream and am I really going to accomplish that? It's kind of about what is next. I mean, that really is just what is next and what can bring me back to myself, what can move me forward. So if dream language doesn't work for people, that doesn't have to be part of it. So
I love that. And I think that's a really important point. I think Tanya's point is really appropriate. This is not about, well, if you don't want to be an astronaut or a prima ballerina or something grandiose, if you don't want that, then this work isn't for you. I think some people have done this work and have really disrupted their lives in dramatic ways. And many people have done this work and have made meaningful incremental changes, which I think is what Quinn and Michelle were also referencing. It isn't about, well, if you don't have a fairy tale in mind, then you're not a dreamer. That is not what this is about. That's why I think this work is important, is because it is grounded in both aspirations and reality. David, maybe you can go next if you've got anything to add to that.
Sure. I was thinking of course, along the lines of what the others have said, but also I really like the retreat forced me to give myself some personal accountability. There's been, it's too easy just to go, well, maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that. And so by having some concrete steps to follow and really having to put something down on paper, for me, it's kind of like doing, well, I'll confess, I've been doing the Noom program to keep some weight off since the pandemic. And it's one of those things where you're supposed to, enter everything you eat, you weigh in every day. Well, there's this accountability, and it's harder to blow it off. So I think that's been really important for me. And I'm just ever so slightly competitive in my real life, my regular life. And so having this group of people some of whom have dramatically changed their lives, I'm like, gosh, I better keep going because I gotta keep up. So
you don't want to fall behind, David.
I don't want to fall behind. So no, but I think that it's for me, it's really been a lot about the personal accountability part of it. And even once every 6 weeks or so, having to really think about it. And like, yeah, what have I done? And I work really well on deadlines. So having some deadlines is a good thing, whether that's in the retreat or after the retreat.
Fantastic. Thank you. Sue, I'll let you bring this question to bear to wrap up.
Yeah, and everything. I'm with all of you. I would say for me, the reason I had to take the retreat that was so important for me is to stop. I have a full-time job that I love and I'm continuing, but I had this passion and spark and desire and dreams to live out, and realize that I couldn't even entertain it because I was so busy. So I have my 7th child still living at home. I have 10 grandchildren. There are no minutes in my day. There's a lot of joy, but to entertain my purpose in life, I had to stop. And so when Dana mentioned, this retreat, like I would do just that for that period of time. I was in it. And for me personally, that's what I needed. And so it's everything else. I'm not abandoning my job. Um, but I have put things into place because I was allowed a little bit of time to think about it and to have accountability, like you all said, and to have um, the acceptance really to speak my dream and have other people go, that's cool. That
Yeah.
you should absolutely do that. And it's like, when are people validating me? They're not. I mean, I have 10 grandkids. They don't validate me. They bring me joy, but they don't validate me. So I needed the time and the space to do it. So very
That,
important.
that's a really powerful point. I think, and this will segue into my third and final question, this network. So this group came together. The first retreat had 8 people. And it was a dynamic experience because I brought the content and they brought the desire. They brought curiosity in their own dreams. They brought curiosity in each other's dreams. And they have continued to stay connected for almost 2 years. And then everybody else who comes in just becomes part of this larger network. So the question for you, 5, is really, what is the value of these every 6-week check-ins? My perspective is that they are twofold. One, I always bring an assignment. So something to help you keep going down the path. And 2, this is where the real networking happens. David, I'm going to let you go first since you are the impetus behind them.
I totally had forgotten that. But anyway, yeah, no, I think that what I really like about it is the continuation of the networking with the original group, and then also bringing in others. I mean, Quinn and I have talked about a couple of possible projects that we could do together. So I mean that you make new connections, and all of them help move you down the path. And I really do like, in general, the focus that you bring to each of these, whether it's, you know, whatever the assignment is. And you know, I haven't made every single one of them, but they've all, I've come away with feeling like each one was value added. So so I'm really glad that it's continued, and glad to have a chance to get Zoom face to face, at least with people from, you know, from the group, and adding new friends from continuing groups.
Fantastic. Thank you. Quinn, I'm actually going to let you go next because I feel like, and you can certainly refute this, it's your process, but I've watched you evolve during the 6-week course, but I really watched you come alive in that one particular moment where you and David started to talk through this thing, which I think is what really opened up a path for you. So I love that collaboration and that connection that the two of you developed.
Yeah. So I'll just talk a little bit about what I like about the 6-week retreats, check-ins. Is, I mean, one, I think that it's really like getting to see some old friends and make some new friends. You feel it's like since leaving school, I haven't really felt like people have, like I've been in a group where everyone has this shared experience. And that's a really powerful device for making friends. And you don't really know it when you're in school, because that's just kind of your whole experience. But then you leave school and you're like, okay, I guess that's the end of making friends easily. But I think that it's a great way to make professional connections and just make some friends. And I also think maybe accidentally, 6 weeks seems to be the perfect amount of time to come back in when you're feeling like you have kind of spent as much as you have in the tank creatively and mentally, and come back in and fuel back up and get re-inspired to go out and do some more work on your own dream and help inspire and fuel up other people as well. Yeah, the project you're alluding to with David that we were talking about, David's trying to move out, not trying, you were going to be moving out to Palm Springs to start up the opera company out here. And my spark involved cocktails, which was completely independent, seemingly. But then Dana actually made a really smart connection for the two of us. And we got thinking about how we can maybe merge those two worlds. And I've kind of taken that and run with it in a bunch of different directions. And that's had me working kind of like a dog in my free time almost ever since. So I've been really excited about that. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been attending these every 6-week check-ins. So
Right,
I
because
think
you and
there-
David didn't do the same retreat, so you would
No.
not know each other without these check-ins.
That's true. Yeah, I've found the 6-week check-ins almost more valuable because I already have the toolkit that I developed during the retreat itself. And this is just allowing me to kind of come back in and then branch out and then come back in and continue to make this incremental progress that I think is really valuable to doing anything in life.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Tanya.
Yeah, I think that there was certainly value. I did a 2.5 days in a row workshop, and there's value to being that focused, but there's also not much time to think and even to absorb it. So having had that intensive experience and then the opportunity to do these check-ins is, I think, why I keep ruminating about it and haven't just forgotten, because it gave me space to do the thinking, and it does prod, it pushes you forward. And I think we always do these exercises that, again, are just further pushing us along our paths. So those have been super, super, super important.
I have one thing.
Great.
I've done the weekend retreat, but I am also doing the next retreat as well, the next 6 weeks. I know that Dana has changed some of the coursework, and so I'm excited about that, but I have to continue, and the accountability is a big piece for me. The investment in myself, the monetary investment, is a big piece that motivates me. So I have to keep going. I want to be signed up for it to continue to kind of figure out what's next for me. It may not even be what I think it is right now. It might change.
Michelle will be my first person to do this work twice. I cannot wait to get her reaction and reflection to doing it again, because I think there is so much power in the idea that it is not a straight path where you like point A to point B. It is maybe this, and it's all over the place. And sometimes you're totally off the path, and sometimes you're back on, and sometimes you need to be reminded of something. Maybe that's redundant. You just need to be reminded of something that you thought was important 6 months ago that you've forgotten, or you need to realize that, wow, I thought that's what I wanted, but it turns out it really wasn't that. It's this other thing. That is your gift with the framework, as Quinn talked about, with the workbook, as Sue referenced, with this process and with the check-ins. So it's not one and done, because our lives aren't one and done. That would be like saying, let's use big case example. Barack Obama, you were president of the United States, one and done. Now you just coast for the rest of your life. First of all, who's more competitive than somebody who's won the presidency of the United States? He was a baby when he left office. He has spent these last 5 years, I would imagine, saying, what's next? What do I do with the new base? And where do I go from there? That's true for all of us. So anything else from anybody?
Yeah, I could add something. It sounds like we should get Obama on the retreat, first of all.
It sure does. He
But-
clearly needs some help.
Yeah, I think so.
I'll reach out and see what I can do.
Yeah, I think that it can sound like the 5 panelists maybe have like very defined goals and are. It can feel, I imagine, putting myself in where I was before I took the retreat. I think I might be listening to this and be noticing or feeling like, oh, I don't know if I can like spool up to that. I don't know if I can like match this energy and this commitment and excitement. And I really can't stress enough how unguided and just like floating along I felt when I joined this retreat. I did not join with a vision. I did not come in, like I said, I did not come in with any kind of spark in mind. The first meeting, I kind of just threw a dart at the dartboard and it ended up sticking. And for me, it felt like I just needed to pick something and move forward with it, and I would find passion in that thing. And that's exactly what has happened for me. But if anyone's listening to this and is kind of in that same boat of feeling a little bit empty, but also not sure where they want to go with that, I wouldn't feel demotivated by feeling like everyone else already had a vision coming in, because that certainly doesn't need to be the case.
Thank you for that. I think that's a really important point. And there has been in every retreat, every course I've done, at least one person who has absolutely been in that spot. Some people come in knowing exactly what they want to do. Sue's a perfect example. I feel like Sue knew exactly what she wanted to do. And what Sue needed was the time to say, think about how I'm going to do what I know I want to do. But Sue is on one end of the spectrum. Quinn was maybe on the other end of the spectrum, and everybody else is somewhere in the middle. So it isn't about being at a certain starting point. I think that's a really, really important point. Thank you for making that, because it can be really hard when people are showing up and giving you looking back perspective to not feel like, oh, I guess I must be a loser because I don't feel any of that. You shouldn't feel that yet. If you felt the way they feel now, then thanks for being on the call. I sure like you, but you don't need to do my work. You need to do this work because you feel like they felt 6 weeks before they started or the weekend before they started. So thanks for that point. If you are feeling like the price point is a barrier, then here's my offer to you. I am happy to have a conversation with you today